Hey, you guys. I would just like to preface this episode by saying that I know I haven't posted an episode in a while. I know I haven't posted since the 31st of August, but I've been super ooper duper busy. It's not an excuse, it's just a reason. Labor Day is a Monday when America's on holiday, so am I. I didn't get an episode out. Also, as you'll find out later in this episode, I had to work that weekend, so I didn't have time to record. The following week, I would end up going on a quick mini vacation, and when I go on vacation, I try to completely turn off all devices and just, get off the grid and disconnect and be at peace with myself. And so I did more writing down in preparation for this episode in my head without devices anywhere. And, that was the 14th, would have been the next episode. And I didn't post that because I've been recording and really marinating in everything that's happening right now. And so I want you to know that this episode is the episode you should have gotten on the 14th and didn't. And I don't have an excuse. I have some reasons, but I'm not going to bore you with those. I've noticed that y'all went ahead, though, in my absence and caught up on some of your other episodes you might have been missing, and that is great, and I appreciate it. It blows my mind that some of y'all take time out of y'all's days to listen to me. So, I love y'all. Thank you so much. I'm going to cut the shit right now so we can get to this week's episode. I will have an episode as scheduled on Monday, the 28th. Y'all deserve it. I'm not going to say I'm not going to let this happen again, because it's going to happen. I warned y'all that I would be posting episodes whenever I want. But I'm going to try and get back on a Monday schedule. Anyway, let's get to the episode. Warning, listener discretion is advised. Hurricane Fonzie has arrived. Hey, what's up, you guys? Welcome back to Ask Fonzie Anything. Thank you so much for being patient with me. Last week I had a lot of shit to do, and, I've had bronchitis and walking pneumonia for like a month now, and I just had a lot. I had a lot of things going on. It was getting hold of school. I was getting into the swing of that. I still work full-time. Book stuff is happening finally. Now that, this coronavirus is just kind of set into the culture and reality of things, and people are kind of going back to normal, whether they're supposed to be or not, which is kind of confusing and annoying. And I had to work last weekend on top of that, so I didn't have the normal time to record an episode and edit and all of that stuff, and I didn't want to half-ass something and just shit it out and and upload it everywhere, because y'all deserve quality content. So I'm going to give y'all some updates. I'm going to tell you all about vacation, and yeah, that's pretty much what I'm going to cover today. But let's pay some bills first. A few people have asked me while I was plugging this show for the past few weeks or so, how do you make a podcast even? And there are a few ways to get from point A to point B with podcasting, but my favorite answer is always Anchor. Anchor is a free podcast hosting site, and it takes all of the work and hassle out of the equation so you can just focus on content. And I like that, because I'm a busy person. I have one of those grown men 401k jobs, and I don't have a lot of time for all that extra stuff. I like to use my MacBook to access Anchor. Apple, please sponsor me. But there is also a mobile app that works just as well. And you'll have everything you need to record, edit, and distribute your podcast right at the tip of your fingers. Anchor will also automatically distribute your podcast to just about everywhere podcasts can be heard, including Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts. And you can use the RSS feed that they will provide you with to fill in the blanks if you find any. Unlike some podcasting networks that usually require you to have thousands of active listeners before they'll even consider monetizing your show, I have 0 listeners right now this very second, and I'm already able to monetize and make money on my very first download through Anchor. So if you've ever been curious about starting a podcast and it just seemed too technical and out of reach to achieve, you should definitely check out Anchor. You can download their free mobile app from whatever app store you have access to, or by going to anchor.fm/Ask Fonzie Anything. I repeat, anchor.fm/Ask Fonzie FONZIE Anything. I'm positive you're going to love it. Okay, it just dawned on me during the commercial break that I should probably make this a vacation episode. So I'm not just going to talk about the quick mini vacation I took this past weekend to, disconnect and de-stress, but I'm also going to talk about all of the other vacations I've taken. And, I think it could get a little interesting because I've been, around here and there, and it's always just kind of fun whenever I go on vacation because I normally go alone. I'm not beholden to what anyone else wants to do. And if I want to be at a strip club until 5 o'clock in the morning, go to the hotel room, sleep for 3 hours, and then wake up, go to IHOP and go to the beach or go back to the strip club, I'm going to do it. So I think I'm going to go back to the very first vacation I remember ever taking. And I'm not going to say that my grandparents, my dad's parents were rich. On the contrary, they were far better off than my mother. So in my little mind, I thought they were like, pretty well off and wealthy and whatnot. But, they just happened to be average or whatever. Money-wise, I never really paid attention or could tell the difference as a child. But what I did know is that they had more money than my mother if they could, afford to, just kind of do some of the things that we did growing up. And they both worked. My grandmother worked at a bank. She's worked at a bank pretty much her entire working career. I don't personally remember her doing anything other than working at a bank somewhere. And now she's like head bitch in charge at a bank, down south compared to where I am. And I guess she should be getting ready to retire soon. But, and then my grandpa, he worked at hardware stores. He was like the general managers of a Sears at one point. He was always doing odd jobs on the weekends, making money for the family and stuff. He would do... I remember helping him on some of these jobs, and I knew for sure that he could rewire a house. That's something that me and my dad helped him with one summer. He was rewiring a house for some lady that had a rental property that needed to be completely rewired. And instead of doing normal fucking kid shit during the summer, they had me out there working hard. They weren't just like, oh, hey, go give me this. They were like, take this cable and run upstairs with it and then put it in place and come back downstairs and tell me if you put it through the hole right. And then I need you to get this outlet, put it in here like this. And I think that's why I have such an agitation towards hard physical manual labor now, is because I fucking did enough of it as a kid. I fucking traumatized. Like, they had me helping them rewire houses, install cable antennas. They had me with them on the weekends doing all kinds of bullshit. My dad was always like rebuilding a fence for somebody. My dad was always laying tile for somebody. And it gave me enough skill now to walk into a shop and I pretend I don't know what the fuck I'm doing so people don't expect me to be able to do the stuff that I know how to do. But if all of the other men in the world died, I could build a fucking house if I had to. I don't want to. But if all the other fucking men in the earth got coronavirus and died, and I survived because I wore my fucking mask and washed my hands like we're supposed to, I could build a house. We gonna be alright. I know what some tools are. I can rewire a house. I can lay some tile for somebody. I'll build a fence. I ain't gonna want to, but I'll do it. Maybe I'll find some of the butch lesbians to help me. The bottom of that storyline was that they made me do hard work, physical labor, always sweating, always dirty. And I've mentioned this before, that I don't like being dirty. I don't like smelling. Okay, I didn't like any of that stuff, but they made me do it. And I didn't have an option. This wasn't a democracy. I didn't have a vote. This was a dictatorship. I did it or I got smacked around. And then even if I did do it, if I complained just a little bit, boom, hit. So, I think that's why I have a vein for that type of work now, because I've been through it. I don't want to. I'm trying to marry a mechanic. If I can't find me a woman, I'm trying to marry a mechanic. I'm trying to marry me a contractor. I ain't fucking touching those screwdrivers and drills. I ain't fucking with that. No. Anyway, I was always, helping them doing odd jobs, so I knew that we either had the money because they were well off or because they were always doing side jobs to supplement income and stuff. But considering when I was at home with my mother, we didn't really have much. I thought they were just fucking Vanderbilt. Like, I thought they were Trumps before the racism. Well, I mean, I guess they're a little bit racist. Anyway, I thought they were pretty wealthy. So we went on a good amount of vacations. The first one I remember was a trip to Galveston, and I think it was Corpus Christi, and my grandparents took me with them, and I remember them taking us to like Joe's Crab Shack. It was me, my Aunt Vanessa, and my grandparents, and we were at Joe's Crab Shack. We were just on the beach. We were having fun, yada yada yada, and then I remember my grandpa giving me like a shark tooth necklace, and I remember him putting it on my neck, and I remember getting hit by a wave, and I'm like 5 or 4, but I clearly remember being hit by a wave, drinking half the water, and then my head, emerging from this wave that's settled past me already. And that necklace is fucking gone. And I remember getting yelled at, like, son of a bitch, goddamn it, motherfucker, I just gave you that motherfucking necklace, goddamn it, I told you to... like, pissed. And we sat there for like 2 seconds looking in the sand where I was for this necklace, could not find it, and then we carried on. But we went to Joe's Crab Shack, and it's like a seafood restaurant. It's way better than Red Lobster and Long John Silver's. If you've never been to a Joe's Crab Shack, you're missing out. Like, it's pretty badass. Anyway, I tried crab for the first time. I remember that trip being fun. If I'm not mistaken, Selena's statue was already up. Selena? Yeah, the Selena statue was already up. And we may have seen that, but I'm not entirely sure. And I know that there was one vacation where they took me with them to San Antonio. And I remember going to the zoo in San Antonio. And I specifically remember not so much the animals or what was done, where we stayed, what we said or anything. But of that trip, what I do remember is my Aunt Vanessa putting quarters in one of those machines that makes wax figures of the animals. And she got a purple gorilla, which I was like, why the fuck it look black? Like, why the gorilla gotta be black? I don't I was already woke. And I think this vacation I was 5, and the other one I was 4, or vice versa. But, and then I got a giraffe that was blue. And then, they had those machines that you could put a penny in, and it would grind that penny down to like a flat, oblong oval, and it had like a stamp of whatever the stamp machine wanted it to say, and it would say like, oh, San Antonio Zoo or whatever. And then we got those. I remember another vacation. Whenever I lived with my mom, we didn't really have the resources to go on vacation and shit. So most of my vacations before like the age of 13 will be vacations I took with my grandparents. I remember there was another vacation that we went to South Padre Island. I remember that one. That was like, I was 12. It was the summer before it was the summer before 8th grade, so I must have been 13 at this point, because my birthday's in June, and I'm always the youngest. I'm always the youngest in my grade, so I just turned 13, and then in June, and then, that fall, 8th grade. And I went to South Padre Island with my grandparents. We drove and went through all of these different towns and stuff. I remember having fun at South Padre Island. Oh, what I do remember is being pressured into a sexuality conversation at 13 when I didn't even fucking know by my aunt's boyfriend, husband, fiance at the time. Maybe he was the husband already. You know what? I'd always seen him as my Aunt Vanessa's husband, whether they were legally married at that point or not, because they'd been together forever, since I was like 10. And I'm 25 now. They'd been dating. Maybe that's wrong. Maybe it wasn't 10. But I know that they were definitely together 2 or 3 years or so before South Padre, which was 8th grade. So it must have been about 5th grade when they got together. And I'm 25 now, so that's like 15 years. Anyway, long story short, I remember being on the beach in South Padre Island. I remember, just minding my own goddamn business. Playing on the beach. There were girls over there, and, maybe I was copping a look. Then there were guys on the other side about like 20 feet the other way, and maybe I was copping a look. And, I'm 13. At this point, I know that I like boys, but I haven't decided whether I, still like girls or not. Because I know that some women, a certain type of woman, can still spark my curiosity. It takes a certain woman at this point to really like turn my head and make me pay attention. But at this point, if you think about sexuality as a spectrum, at this point, I'm mostly gay. Like I'm 65% gay at this point. But I remember my Aunt Vanessa's man, and he's listening to this podcast probably. Hi, Joel. But I remember, all forgiven now, but I remember him asking me at 13 on the beach. Everyone else is like, trying to have fun, trying to be on vacation, trying to enjoy their time. Me, as a 13-year-old who, is still completely undecided about their sexuality, he asks me, like, what kind of girl do you like? What kind of boy do you like? What kind of do you like? Do you even like girls? Maybe he didn't mention boys at the time, but he was like, "What kind of girl you like? You like this girl? You like that girl? You like that?" And it was giving me anxiety. I was like, "Why is this man attacking me with questions? I don't fucking know. I can't tell him I don't know, because then it like seeds to my grandparents that Fonzie might be gay, and then like it causes this whole thing because this was 2005." This was 2008. Like, I think people forget that being gay isn't as wildly open, accepted, and mainstream as it has always been. I was the first openly gay male student at Hereford High School, and I graduated 2013. So this is 2008. My grandparents, maybe they have a suspicion. Family always knows. They always see it early in a kid. They're like, oh, yep, this one's going to be a little faggot. But I'm sure that it took me to say the words for it to confirm what they'd always known, kind of. And so, my uncle's like, do you even like girls? You like this girl? You think this girl's pretty? You think that? And I'm like, dude, I don't even know what kind of girls I like. I think I like boys. I know I like girls. I don't know what's going on. Like I have anxiety because he's attacking me with these questions, and I'm 13. I do not have a solid understanding of sexuality, period, let alone of my own sexuality. And I remember telling him, like, I'm on vacation. I'm not trying to think about this right now. Like, can we just talk about it some other point? Because I'm really just trying to, like, at this point I know I have an anxiety problem because, just being asked simple questions, I was already, like, buried. I might as well have been, with my head under the water because It's very simple questions, and it just the anxiety of not having a perfect, clear answer was already just rendering me completely dumbstruck. And it becomes a whole argument, fight, and conversation between me and my grandparents when we get home. But I do remember that specifically was like, that was the day, sometime eventually afterwards anyway, is when my grandparents ended up finding out, like, oh, this is a little queer boy. But South Padre, and then, we'd always gone on vacation around my grandmother's birthday. Her birthday is July 23rd. We always go on vacation when I would go with them that week. And, so halfway through the vacation week, I go with my Aunt Vanessa and her boyfriend, fiance, husband, my uncle Joel, and their son Sebastian. And Sebastian's 2 years old at this point. And the cutest little thing, so cute I want to choke him. Like, when they're little, they're cute. And he was very smart at this point. I knew we were related because this kid, smart. This kid was very smart. I remember in the car with Sebastian, he's 2 years old. He is like grabbing my finger, or he grabbed something from me and I tried to take it back. I'm 13. I don't know what kind of business I have arguing with a 2-year-old about something, but I'm trying to take it back from him and he's pulling on it. And I don't remember exactly how it happened, but for whatever reason, we're both pulling, and either I let go and it goes towards his face and he gets hit by my nail or something. I don't know. Anyway, he is screaming. And I remember thinking, like, this kid is smart. He's just like me. He's smart. And of course he gets it from, my Aunt Vanessa. And I'm not saying he doesn't get it from Joel's family, his dad's family, because I don't know that family. I do know that Joel is smart. So, he has 2 smart parents. This kid is destined to be just as smart as me, if not smarter. So, he's 2 years old. We're arguing and fighting, and he hurts himself with my finger because of this altercation. And he had the cognition whenever they came in, my Aunt Vanessa and my and my Uncle Joel, my Aunt Vanessa's boyfriend, Uncle Joel. Whenever Joel and my Aunt Vanessa come in, they saw Sebastian crying. They saw me sitting there like, and they were like, what happened? And I was like, this is what happened. And then they asked Sebastian, what happened? And Sebastian says, clear as day, I hurt myself with Fonzie's finger. And I remember looking at him like, oh, I need to protect this kid. Like, because he's smart. No one's going to understand him. He's different. I saw it right there at 2 years old. I was like, you know what? Sebastian's brilliant. And they're not going to understand him the same way they don't understand me. Because I was always been very, very smart. My Aunt Vanessa had me doing algebra at like 9. I've always been smart. And I knew that day that Sebastian was also going to be brilliant because of the way he answered that question. I was like, oh, thank God. I was like, I don't feel so alone when it came to the grandchildren anyway. It's like, there's one person on this earth that'll understand me on this side of the family. Because I'm not trying to say that my cousins on my mother's side aren't intelligent, but I'm definitely the leader of the pack when it comes to brains. And now, there are, some cousins emerging into intelligence. And I know Jaylyn, a cousin on my mother's side, she's smart. And so at that point, we were all just kids. But I remember looking into Sebastian's soul when he answered that question. And I was like, oh, there's another genius in the family. Thank God. This kid's going to get me. He's going to understand me. And anyway, I don't know why I got so sidetracked. This is about vacations. Maybe I'll talk more about my Aunt Vanessa, Joelle, Sebastian, and Braden in a different episode, depending on how much they want me to talk about, their personal life and all that other good stuff. I don't want to just tell y'all everybody else's whole life story. Anyway, so I was with my Aunt Vanessa, Joelle, Sebastian. Braden isn't born yet. Braden is another one of my cousins from my Aunt Vanessa and Joelle. He's not born yet. He won't be born for another few years. But I am with the three of them. We're in a white Chevy Malibu that my Aunt Vanessa had. And we're driving back early and separate from my grandparents because they were going to take a little detour. They were going to take their time getting back. And we went, our own way. I remember we stop at like this sausage bratwurst meat deli something in a town that started with the C. Maybe it was Coleman. I'm not entirely sure. But either the lights get left on or something, the car's left on, or the ignition, the key isn't completely turned off, and the car dies while we're in this meat deli. And then we go back out and the battery's dead. And we're stranded there for a few minutes, maybe an hour and a half. And, we finally get everything situated. Everything gets charged up. There's a new battery, bought, something like that. And we finally make our way home. I remember I learned about Fredericksburg peaches. If you ever are so blessed to drive through Fredericksburg during peach season in Texas, you better get yourself some damn peaches. Fredericksburg peaches in late July could go head to head with a Georgia peach any day. Those Fredericksburg peaches are the best peaches on earth. Georgia peaches ain't got shit on these peaches. I don't know why I felt that was important. I just want to talk about it. Those peaches are amazing. If you ever have the chance, late July, go to Fredericksburg, Texas. Get yourself some fucking peaches from a street vendor. Those are the best peaches on earth. I promise. You will bite into that peach and you will not understand where you've been this whole time. Anyway, South Padre Island. Went there, brought back sand and water, and then tried to, with my microscope, see if there were microbes in the water. And I didn't have the iodine dye to color the germs that were floating around in the water, so I just saw fucking clear into nothing. So I remember being like, oh, there aren't germs in the ocean. Okay. All pissed and shit. And let's see, what was the next vacation? That was the school year. The school year following that was the school year that my dad went to prison, so I didn't really go with my grandparents after that. Also because that summer, me and my grandparents had a bit of a falling out. Some stuff happened. I'm not going to get into it, but I just really for a long time felt about them the way I'd felt about David for a long time. I just really didn't care whether I saw them or not. And, didn't really want to be around. It was obvious that these people that summer weren't the grandparents I'd always held, love for and, in the esteem that a normal grandchild holds for their grandparents. Because when you're a child, you think of your grandparents as something even more angelic and mystical than your own parents. You have parents, that God exists somewhere in your mother because she gave birth to you and she gave you life and stuff. And then you have grandparents that are just something out of this world. Every child holds esteem for their grandparents. There's a sacred bond between a grandchild and a grandparent. And I'd always had that with them until this summer. And I'm not going to talk about it right now. Maybe when they're dead in 20 years or whatever. God willing. But I remember going home that summer, things being different, me never going back another school year, summer, to Abilene. And then the closest thing to a vacation was there was a family reunion on my mother's side in Brady, Texas. And Brady's a small town, but it has this huge lake, and there are pretty big cities within a mile or two in, the the radius or diameter of radius in the radius of that lake. So everyone, on the weekends comes to party at that lake, takes the 2 hour drive or the hour and a half drive to the lake and, has fun and whatever and has a good time. And this lake is huge. It's about maybe 2-3 miles long from end to end. And then there's like a little tiny island in the middle. Anyway, I remember getting to Brady, there being all kinds of Mexicans in this underneath this awning, and I wasn't too concerned with all of these new family members that I had no idea existed, because to me, if I never met you, you might as well be a stranger. Like, you can't take me to a place where there are 10 people, tell me, oh, these are your cousin's wife, sisters, brothers, uncles, third nephews, once removed brothers from a affair that the grandpa had with this person's niece. And I'd be like, okay. And then what? Like, I don't know. If I'm not actively involved in your life, or if I don't know you exist, you might as well just be a stranger to me, because that's how I feel sometimes. If I don't know about you, if you ain't coming to my house, if you ain't hitting me up on Facebook, if I don't even know you exist or I've never met you my whole life, and I would remember if I'd met you, because I have a memory. We all know this. We all know I have a memory. So 99.9999999% of these 300 Mexicans I never met my whole life. So I wasn't so concerned with them. I go down to where the lake is, and I get my ass in that motherfucking water. I get in the water, and then I start swimming and shit. I've always been a damn good swimmer. I think I told y'all how I learned to swim, and if I didn't, you should go check out that episode. 1, because it's hilarious. But 2, I'm going to tell you right now. David had picked me up whenever I started living with him. And, he knew damn good and well I couldn't swim, because I was holding on to the edge for dear life and shit. In the 3 foot. I was 3.5 feet at this point. Tall. I could have just stood up and been able to breathe, but I'm holding on for dear life in the 3 foot. And my dad sees me and he's like, boy, swim. And I was like, no, I can't swim. Oh my God, I'm not ready. And he's like, come here. And he grabs me. He holds me above his head in one hand. My dad's always been strong. I told y'all this. And I wasn't so chunky whenever I was 6. So he picks me up above his head, walks me to the deep side of the pool, throws me in the water. And he says, if you survive, dinner's at 7. And walks away. And I tell you, the second I hit that water, Mama raised a survivor. I start hitting my feet. I start kicking my feet. I start pedaling my little hands, and I'm swimming immediately. Didn't know how to swim. Didn't know how to swim a lick until the second I hit the water in the deep end. I fucking became Michael Phelps and shit. I was an Olympic swimmer that minute, that day, that second. Because Mama raised a survivor. Anyway. So I'm swimming in this lake in Brady. And, I'm living my best life. I'm doing good, whatever. I get to the island in the middle of the lake. And, I want my mom to see me, hopefully, thinking she'd be proud of me. And I can't get her attention because her and all those Mexican people up there. And so there was someone on the shore of the lake, one of my cousins, and I tell them, hey, go call my mom and tell her I'm stuck, because that's the only thing I could think of that would make her, try and see what was going on, that would give her the interest to kind of leave the chisme that was going on. And if you're white or from another country, Germany, Ireland, chisme is a Spanish kind of slang Tex-Mex word for gossip. Anyway, that was the only thing that I could think of that would kind of deter her from the gossip. And so, she, my cousin tells her, Fonzie's stuck on the island and he can't get back. And I really wasn't stuck. I'm a damn good swimmer. Of course I wasn't stuck. But it was the only way that I thought my mom would, go out and see what I was doing. And mad as hell, like a fucking bull. This woman, my mother was Belinda China Shop. She was pissed off. She comes to this hill overlooking the island and the lake and everything, and she screams from the hill, which is like a mile. Oh, not a mile. I'm exaggerating. Maybe like 1,000 feet, or those of you out of the country, like 300 meters or so. Yeah, 300 meters from the shore. She is screaming, and I can hear her. And I can hear her from the island, which is halfway in the middle of this, 4 kilometer, 4 kilometer length lake. So that's 2 kilometers from shore. She's, 300 meters or so from the hill that is overlooking this entire lake, and she's screaming, and I can hear her. She's like, "You better get your motherfucking ass back on there." Yeah. And I'm like, "Mom, I'm stuck. I can't. Look at me. And she's like, "I said get your ass over here right now." Like, I could hear it in her voice. She was not feeling me today. She was not featuring me that day. So, I like kind of mopey. I start swimming all the way back to shore or whatever. And I was like, "Mom, I just wanted you to see I wasn't really stuck." And she's like, "Shut the hell up." And then she served me a plate and didn't talk to me or whatever. And she went back to doing whatever the fuck she was doing. And, yeah, that was Brady Lake. That was the experience that I remember. I don't remember anything else. I remember getting bitched at for being a damn good swimmer. And I have been a good swimmer, since, my dad taught me. And I've taught all of the children in my family how to swim. Because if their mamas didn't raise survivors, Fonzie raised a survivor, and at least he taught somebody how to swim and be one. But that's, that's not on topic. I'm going to stay with vacations. After that vacation, I don't really remember going on another vacation. I mean, I wouldn't consider living in New York after graduation a vacation, because although I was, finding myself and doing me and stuff like that, like I didn't go there for vacation. Those months I was in New York, I wasn't there to just not do anything. I wasn't just there to chill or whatever, but I did have a good time in New York. I did. I still think about the town that I lived in here and there. It was like living in a postcard. Anyway, that's a separate episode. Oswego in New York. That's a separate episode. But after New York, I think my first vacation, just me, my first solo vacation, I remember I was working at Taco Bell. I'd been the general manager already. I was working open to close for like 2-3 weeks. Because I was always shorthanded, because no one wants to work. Well, and if they want to work, they want to take it easy. They don't want to have to do too much. They don't want a boss that like actually cares about the store that they are in charge of running, because their fucking name's on the door. They don't care about that stuff. They want to get a check, take their ass home, and, survive through the day. And I wasn't feeling that. So any of those employees could leave. And so I ended up being shorthanded, and I was at work, open, close, breakfast to closing. 16 hours a day. I was going through it. Like 20 hours of overtime and 25 hours of overtime. Like I was overloading myself. And I get home one day, turn on Netflix, and I immediately fall asleep. And then I wake up in the middle of the night after, months of being like, oh, I have vacation time. Maybe I should, go on vacation. Maybe I should actually do this. My very first vacation as the general manager, I went to New Orleans because that, one of those days that I came home, turned on Netflix, went straight to bed, woke up in the middle of the night to turn it off. I had been wondering where I wanted to go, what I wanted to do. I could do anything, could go anywhere. Money wasn't a problem. I had the resources. I wake up in the middle of the night to turn off American Horror Story, and it's season 3, and I see, the city of New Orleans, and I tell myself out loud, I'm going there for vacation. I turn off Netflix, pass out. The next day, I book a trip. The last week of the summer, which is technically the first week that everyone should be going back to school, and I go to New Orleans by myself. I don't take nobody with me. I'm not in a relationship at this point. I'm not talking to anyone. There isn't anyone in the whole wide world that I picture myself wanting to be on vacation with. That very next day that I wake up, book a hotel, and I, text my mom to use her car because her car is the car that I, wanted to travel in for gas purposes, and I'd fucking help her get that car. So I wanted to use it for my vacation. I put tires on it for her. I got her brakes done. I did all the things to that car that it needed, just so, and then in return and in reciprocation, not that I needed to be reciprocated. I mean, that's my mom. I'm gonna fucking put tires on her car if she needs tires, but to make everything even or whatever in both of our eyes, I would just use her car to go on vacation. Gas, everything, get the oil changed, whatever I would take care of. But I was just going to use that car because it was the more reliable car for the road. And at that point, I'm still driving that hoopty I told y'all about, that lemon car that I bought, that I took from my mother after I helped her get her other car. Anyway, so I go to New Orleans and I have the best time of my life. I loved New Orleans. I felt like I was going home to a place I'd never been before. And the only other place that I could equivocate that to is when I go to the ocean and when I go to New York. Those 3 places, New Orleans, New York, and the ocean, I just feel like that is where my soul had always been. So I'm having a great time in New Orleans. My hotel is hella fancy. I stay at a riverfront resort. It's really famous in New Orleans. It has valet parkers. It has people that are hired to carry your bags everywhere you go. And I wasn't obviously not raised that way. And I remember pulling in, and it has like this roundabout as a part of the hotel. Like it's inside. I don't know how to explain it. And then the valet parkers come out. And they're like, oh, can I get your keys? Here, where are your bags at? They're going to help me with my bags. They're not going to help. Let me rephrase that. They are not going to help me with my bags. They are going to take my bags for me. And I tried. God knows I tried. And they were like, no, please don't help me. You're going to get me in trouble. Please don't. That's my job. My manager's watching. And I was like, okay, dude, I'm sorry. Like, can I at least carry my carry-on? I don't want anyone touching this bag. I'll carry it. Like, I make a scene so that way the manager isn't like, well, you were supposed to carry the bag. Like, that had my guns in it. I didn't want no one touching that bag but me. So I made it very clear that no one touches this bag. I can do it. I'm a grown-ass woman. I can carry this fucking bag. But what I did not like about this hotel is something that I noticed immediately upon arrival, is that all of the laborers, like the service workers, all of the people that, cleaned the hotel rooms, all of the people that parked your car, grabbed your bags. This was a fancy hotel. They had someone with whose job it was to hold a water bottle, offer a water bottle first, offer you a water bottle after you got out of your car while they were getting your bags, hold the water bottle for you, and then follow you into the elevator where there was another gentleman who was hired to push the button for you and offer you like, oh, would you like a little treat? Here's a little piece of candy. Here's a little piece of chocolate. Yada, yada, yada. How was your day? How was your travels? How have you been? What's your name? Who's your mama? Like all of those questions and stuff. And he would hold the water bottle while you were in the elevator. And then when you got up to the elevator, there was someone that they had paid to stand there and continue his job while he stayed in the elevator. And he, this new guy is following you, as holding the water bottle, asking the same questions, letting you know about the property, what's nearby, all of the amenities of the room, warning you about the safe, warning you about this, letting you know about the evacuation plan, all of that other extra shit. And, of course, by that time, the bags are already waiting in my room for me, because the service elevator was faster and there wasn't someone stopping me every 2 seconds to ask if I wanted a sip of the water they were holding for me. Anyway, something I noticed was that all of those service gentlemen were African American. And I wasn't having it, because I done told y'all, I didn't know I wasn't black until I was 7. When I saw those gentlemen, I saw my brothers and sisters waiting on me hand and foot, and I wasn't going to have it. Like, I knew better than that. I wasn't raised that way. I'm not having no one to wait on me. I can carry my own damn bags. I can hold my own motherfucking water bottle. And I was just like, it kind of made me feel gross. But of course, like, I guess this is how everyone goes. I don't know. I know that I picked like one of the more expensive hotels in New Orleans, and it was kind of empty because, everyone's done with vacation. That's why I like going the last week of September or last week of August, first week of September, is because I know everyone's done traveling. So I can go to whatever city I want to. I don't have to deal with any overcrowding. It's just the locals. I can enjoy the atmosphere, the city for what it is on a normal basis, all of that other good stuff. This hotel was half empty, and it was probably because the fucking owners were racist, because every service person, I didn't see a white motherfucker scrubbing a toilet in there. All of the service people were black, and I was not having it. I didn't like it. But, if I tried to help any of these people, I could get them in trouble and fired and stuff. And I wasn't going to have someone losing their job because I was raised right. So I let them carry my bag until we got into my room and the manager wasn't watching. And I was like, give me that shit. Thank you, brother. Get out of here. Gave him a tip and all of the other good stuff. And, I had a great time in New Orleans. I went to the Voodoo District. I went all over the town. I was walking like crazy. I was walking everywhere. And I was walking everywhere because I didn't want to have to ask the valet parkers to go and get my car because I didn't like how that felt. It just kind of felt gross. At one point, it was like the middle of the night. The manager had been gone for the day already. And I remember asking specifically, the manager had been gone for the day, and I had decided that I was going to go out into the city. I was going to go to Bourbon Street, and I wanted my car so that I can park closer to Bourbon Street, and I could get back and drive the other half of the way. And I did not want them to bring me my car. I knew where they parked our cars, and I just wanted my motherfucking keys. I can walk myself to my car, get in, and drive out. I'm a grown ass woman. It's like, I'm a grown ass man. I can do it. And so they were like, all right. They were kind of hesitant. They were like, no, I can do it. And I was like, we both know damn good and well your manager ain't here right now. It is 1 o'clock in the morning. It is 1 a.m. And he's like, all right, here you go, brother. Calm down. And so I took those keys and I carried on with my life. Made it to Bourbon Street. Had a great time down Bourbon Street. Was in and out of strip clubs and all kinds of great places. There was music. It was crazy. There were drunk people everywhere. Of course, I make friends very easily. So groups of people were attaching themselves to me like, hey, you're our friend now. And I was like, all right. And of course, I do that to people all the time. So I went with the flow and, made friends and was at this bar. And then I was at this bar. And then I was at a bar where Milk from RuPaul's Drag Race Season 6, he was performing that night. And, I just all over the place in New Orleans. And then I I made it my way into a strip club with a piece of pizza in my hand and a drink in the other. And these African American girls, gorgeous. These are kind of African American girls. These are kind of black girls that make you want to piss your grandmama off. Fine. With an I-O. Fine. So I'm in the strip club and they're like, oh, you want to dance? Ooh, you want to dance? We can go in the back. It's $200, something. And I was like, no. I do not want to dance, but here's $200. Stop asking me and keep the drinks coming and all the other good stuff. You could just sit right here with me and keep me company and tell me I'm better than you. And, I'm having fun. There's like 2 or 3 strippers around me. They're bringing me drinks. They're holding my stuff. They're talking to me. They're telling me I'm handsome and I'm so much better than them. And all of that other good stuff. I'm so smart. Ooh, daddy. All of this other good stuff. And in New Orleans, I guess the strippers are allowed to touch you because they was all up in my lap. They were like, sitting on each side, one sitting behind me. I was spread eagle. If I would have turned my head 180, I'd have had my head in some cooch. Like, it was, these women were on me, and I just gave them $200 to stop asking me for a dance to go into the back because I was scared. Those were professional women. Anyway, I'm having fun at the strip club. I'm giving them money, like giving them tips. I'm, just keep the bottles coming, play some good music. I'm having a good time. Anyway, I'm ready to go. I leave. I tell all the girls good night. I tell all those girls that they should make better decisions for themselves unless they're making good money as a stripper, in which case you do you, boo. You want to dance for a living and make $1,000 a night? You go ahead. That ain't none of my business. Making more money than me, you go ahead. Anyway, I had left the next day. The next day, I was at Walmart picking up some water bottles, picking up some supplies, because I ain't drinking the fucking $7 water bottle that they have in that damn hotel room. I'm going to go to Walmart. I'm going to get a 40-bottle case of water for $3.96. No, sir. It's like, I'm doing good for myself now, but I was raised fucking poor as shit. I was raised with nothing. I ain't paying $7 for a bottle of water to save my damn life. Oh, Jesus. Anyway, I was in that Walmart, grabbed all my stuff. I'm ready to check out, and the person in front of me is one of the strippers from the night before, and she is buying stuff for her man with the bills I gave her the night before. And I'm looking at him, the back of his head, like, damn, brother, can I get a thank you? How about a thank you, sir? You like, them new shoelaces for your J's is because of me. Them new controllers for your PS3, whatever the fuck, Xbox 360, that's my bills. And I can tell they were my bills because I had something dyed pink in my pocket. And from the sweating, because I'm chunky, and I be sweating anyway. I be sweating for no good reason. There's an open running joke in my family that, oh, you're sweating like, a whore in church or Fonzie in a well air-conditioned room. So I was sweating. I will sweat wearing shorts and a t-shirt in winter on the porch doing nothing. I'm sweating. My shorts are pink. It dyes all the bills pink, and so I know that those bills that he's paying with are the bills that I gave his girlfriend the night before. She turns around, looks me up and down, she's smiling at me, and I'm like waving at her and winking at her so that he won't see or anything, and then I carry on with my business. But I remember being like, damn, brother, can I get a thank you? You're welcome, something. But I didn't, because I didn't want nobody to get smacked. Because it wouldn't have been me either. Somebody would have been smacked, but it wasn't going to be me. I had a shit ton of fun. I had a shit ton of fun in New Orleans. I want to go back. Eventually. Probably not. Oh, I actually want to go back for Mardi Gras. I want to go back for Mardi Gras next year. If things go back to being normal, kind of, sort of. Or there's a way that we can have Mardi Gras with... I don't see it happening. Unless we get a vaccine soon, or this thing fucking disappears like it was supposed to. I don't see Mardi Gras happening next year, but eventually I want to be able to go to New Orleans during Mardi Gras time and, have some fun there. The entire New Orleans trip was spiritually very connecting for me because I've told y'all that I relate my spirituality to voodoo and, other things, but voodoo's a good chunk of my spiritualism and religion and stuff like that. And, it was nice to be in New Orleans. In fact, one of the reasons I ended up leaving New Orleans a day early was because when I was in New Orleans, see, my friends call me Hurricane Fonzie because every time I go to the ocean comes to me too. There's always a hurricane whenever I go to the ocean. I will have friends posting on Facebook like, Fonzie's going to the ocean, you people better evacuate. Or, Fonzie, why don't you go to the mountains this summer and leave those people leave those poor people alone? Anyway, and this year, the year that I went to New Orleans was the year that Hurricane Harvey hit Houston and the Galveston, Houston area and flooded everything. And crazy enough, I had been in Galveston the weekend before this happened because, I drove from Hereford to Abilene, stayed in Abilene for the first weekend, like the Saturday and Sunday. Monday, drove to Galveston and stayed in Galveston Monday, Tuesday. Wednesday morning was in New Orleans, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And I ended up leaving on Thursday because of Hurricane Harvey. If I hadn't left, I would have been driving through, and probably been stuck on the evacuation routes from Houston leading towards Dallas and Houston leading towards all of those towns inland. I would have I'd probably right now be floating in ditches full of water. I probably wouldn't have made it. I probably would have died. Or, been traumatized because Mama raised a survivor. So I probably wouldn't have died, but I definitely wouldn't have made it out of there in one piece, unscathed from the disaster. But one of the reasons that I left as early as I did and was able to beat the storm was because, and you can believe me or not, and this story, I'm going to go in depth about it in the psychic episode, but, there's this, I don't know if you'd call it good luck, bad luck. There's this superstition that if you go to New Orleans to visit, it's good luck to visit the tomb of Marie Laveau, and it's bad luck if you don't. And I am very superstitious, and of course I, have voodoo spiritualism and voodoo religions intertwined into my being. So of course I had to go visit the tomb of Marie Laveau in St. Louis 1. St. Louis 1. The real one's in St. Louis too, but nobody ever talks about it. And I don't want people bugging her real site. Anyway, one of the St. Louis's, I'm not going to tell you which one. And, so you're supposed to put your foot on against her tomb, draw 3 X's into the actual tomb and make a wish, and then offer her something. Some people leave money, some people leave cigarettes, some people leave lipstick, some people, all kinds of stuff. Some people leave beads, candles, all kinds of things. And, I, asked her, I put my head on her tomb and I just told her, I just want to get saved. I was praying to God and Marie Laveau at the same time. I was like, Jesus, I'm sorry. This is for tourism. I have no other God ahead of you. And then I was like, Marie Laveau, I just want to get home in one piece. And in the back of my mind, in the back of my head, right now, all of you, all of my listeners, all 3 of y'all, I want y'all to picture yourself saying the word, but without using your mouth. Okay, so in your head, I want you to say apple. Did you hear how subtle that was? It almost non-existent. It was a whisper of a shadow of a whisper. I heard in the back of my mind, in a voice that faint, leave now. Leave New Orleans right now. And I did. Marie Laveau told me to leave, so I left. I packed my shit that night. I ain't grabbed my shoes or nothing, Jesus. I drove for my life. I left New Orleans that next. I packed everything, stayed up all night packing and like getting everything going this place to grab, this and, making sure tires were ready and all that other good stuff. I was ready to leave 6 o'clock in the morning. First cleaning lady got there. I left her my keys, told her I was leaving early, and I left. And, I made it just in time. I made it to Abilene just in time. If I would not have left, I would not have made it. And so I attribute part of my current livelihood and the fact that I'm breathing and walking around today to Marie Laveau's warning to leave New Orleans right now, this very moment, mister, and go back home. So I did. And someday I'm going to go back to New Orleans and I'm going to thank her. But until then, that was New Orleans. It was great. The very next year, I would attempt to go to Galveston for my entire week vacation, because those 2 days that I was in Galveston on my way to New Orleans, in 2017, I'd loved it so much. Galveston. I love the ocean. People who know me know that I am a fish. Me and the ocean are like yin and yang. We belong with each other. Whenever we're without each other for too long, hurricanes come in and sweep the world, and she comes looking for me. Anyway, it'd been a while, and so I wanted my entire week vacation to be nothing but me and the ocean. And, of course, I got to the ocean, and the storms came. She met me halfway, and it was really rainy and gray. Of course, I love that weather, so I didn't mind being on the beach in the rain, in that shitty weather. I was the only one out there getting rained on, sitting on the beach. And I was like, this is amazing. And they're like, sir, you should probably get in. Looks like there's an ugly storm coming. And I was like, this is great. Anyway, one of my exes, that vacation, probably Tuesday of that week that I was gone, snaps me and tells me that I can come home. And so I check out and I leave Wednesday morning, and I go to Lubbock to be with him. And so that vacation was cut short. And then, of course, the rest of that vacation I spent with him. But, side note, you really love someone, and I knew I loved this boy because I left the ocean for him. And that's something that always made us breaking up hard for me, is because that was a telltale sign of exactly how much I loved you. It's like I loved him more than the ocean. And I don't know if he'd ever see it that way, or if he'd ever hear this, but that is all the evidence I needed to know that this boy was the one I wanted to be with my whole life. It's because I left the ocean for that man. And so anyway, spend the rest of that vacation with him. So I'm not going to get too deep into it. But I couldn't go to the ocean for a few years. I just wouldn't allow myself, because it was like picking the scab of a wound that was just healing, and the ocean would remind me of everything, and I would be that motherfucker in those moments of how life was going for me, to just walk into the ocean and not come back out. So my vacations since that specific vacation had been me not going to the ocean, but, spending some time in Abilene with my grandparents and, my Aunt Vanessa and her children. Or, this past weekend, I had, kind of spontaneously and randomly rented what I thought would be a single cabin all by itself, but was really just, it was actually pretty bougie. I'd rented out a condo cabin resort situation, and I was in the mountains for the last 4 days or so. 3 days. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. 3 days. And, I had some time to relax and disconnect, and it was just a nice little mini vacation. One of the vacations between this last mountain mini vacation in Ruidoso, which is where I was, it's gorgeous up there. I love being in the mountains. When I got there, I was like, oh, this is what I've been missing my whole life. All right, maybe the mountains aren't so bad, because I'm a city boy. So being in the mountains in the forest is different for me, because I like there to be more buildings than trees anywhere I am. Somewhere that GPS can actively find me every step that I take. I like there to be streets and sidewalks everywhere. So being in the mountains was a nice change of scenery. It was great for me. I loved it. Wouldn't trade it for anything. And I definitely see myself buying a cabin, in the woods in northern New Mexico, southern Colorado, Montana, maybe somewhere in the woods, just to have a place to disconnect when life is too much for me. Or being Fonzie. I don't think y'all understand that sometimes being me, just being me, the happy person that y'all see skipping around all day and sharing all of this goodness and kindness and energy and sunshine, it is so mentally and emotionally exhausting when I am hurting inside. And so, I need time every now and again to, just unplug the batteries, hook myself up to a wall outlet, and recharge and disconnect from the world. And, every little opportunity I take to do so. And so this woods mini vacation was a good opportunity to do so, this past weekend. Anyway, I was trying to tell y'all, between this woods and forest, Ruidoso, squirrels and deer and nature bullshit mini vacation, and Galveston, that one 2018, I did go on vacation for a week to Dallas, which is just Dallas. It's with my best friend's family and her wife and baby and stuff, and that was cool. I mean, it was Dallas. It wasn't we were in a different state and a different scenery. It was Dallas. I've been to Dallas before. It was just nice also then to get away, but we'd all pitched in to rent out an Airbnb. It was a really nice house, nice neighborhood, in the middle of everything. It was cool. I wouldn't consider it a vacation, more of just a getaway. But, that was fun. And, so those are the vacations I've been on from infancy to now. And my grandparents would tell me that they took me to Mexico at some point. I do not remember this at all. I do not remember that. But my grandparents will swear up and down that they took me to Mexico. And maybe I was too young to remember. They also tell me that my other grandmother, not the grandmother of the grandparents that took me to Mexico, but the other grandparent, my grandmother Sally, told me and scared the shit out of me and said, if I go to Mexico, I'm going to get stolen and I'm never going to see my mom again. And so in Mexico, apparently I was there the whole time, scared shitless, never left the room. That's the story I've been told. I don't know. I wasn't old enough to remember. Y'all know how y'all's very first memory is around the age of 3? That's when mine was. It was around the age of 2.5, 3. We're kind of on autopilot until 2 or 3. And so mine was at 3 years old. Apparently I was, barely 3 whenever this happened. So, I don't think about Mexico counting because I don't remember it. But anyway, yeah, that's what I wanted to share with y'all. I just recently got back from a little mini vacay. I wanted to tell y'all about that. This mini vacay was fun because I have this like running joke that I've always wanted to dance naked in the woods and listen to Fleetwood Mac. So I did. And now that I've had that handled and taken care of, I can focus on what really matters, like running the world. Taking over, becoming the new dictator of planet Earth. Anyway, so, I'd had fun, gotten there at about nighttime. The cabins / condo / like fancy apartment made out of like log on this huge mountain place had like a balcony. It was like a huge apartment, normal sized house, but it was really pretty up there. And every morning waking up and every sunset and every sunrise, I made an effort to just kind of sit and be present in the moment. I hate people who are so attached to their phones that they experience life through their phones rather than through the senses that we were given as human beings. So I did my very best this vacation to just sit with myself and the surroundings and just be present and really try and disconnect and just recharge and enjoy myself. And I did. I had a good time up there. It was just me and nothing. I go on vacation myself. Whenever I do go on vacation, I always go alone because I don't like being beholden to what someone else wants to do or someone else's plans. I don't like having plans when I go on vacation. And what should be representative of that is how often completely random, unorthodox, and out of nowhere, I just, boom, I'm going to New Orleans. Very next morning, I have everything planned out, and then that's it. The only plan is going here these days to these days. That's it. And like with the mountains, I'd worked Labor Day weekend and doing like manual man labor. Like I was doing man stuff with drills and tools and stuff. And I told, when I told my supervisor after we were done with the day, and, everyone's excited because we did what we had to do. We weren't going to have to show up Monday. And I was bent out of shape. Like my feet were swollen. I had a splinter. I broke a nail. I was having a day. And, I'm getting ready to leave. I'm running out of the building. He's like, "Oh, how are you? Thank you so much. We really, appreciate your help. You really did, do a good job, all of that other good stuff." And I was like, "I'm taking off on this weekend. I have a splinter and I've broken a nail and I'm going home and I will be back on Tuesday, but I am leaving, I'm leaving Thursday and I won't be back until the following Monday." And he was like, "All right, keep it easy. All right, just make your paper, make the, time off request or whatever." And so, I just kind of decided I decided that Sunday before I left on this vacation to just go and leave. Now, in fairness to myself, I had been searching cabins, like cabin resort getaways, Colorado mountain type vacation spots for at least a month and a half or 2 months before that moment. So that weekend is all it really took for me to just be like, "I'm going to the mountains for the weekend and I will be back maybe." But yeah, I had a great time. I definitely would go back for a full week rather than just a weekend and, be one with the forest and the trees. But yeah, I did what I needed to do in the woods. I had my naked prancing around a Fleetwood Mac and Stevie Nicks moment, and I'm good. Oh, there was this fucking deer, though. Let me tell you something. The animals in the forest are a lot more brave than animals in your backyard or, in the city. And I don't know how to explain it. If you ever saw a deer or a squirrel in your front yard, that deer or squirrel wouldn't have the audacity or the ego, the pride, the protection, I don't know what this fucking deer had. But this deer was walking around the resort like, why are you in my house? What the fuck you looking at? I'm just doing deer shit. And he's just living his best deer life. And I'm looking at him from my balcony. He's like 10 feet away for a good 2 hours or so. No, I'm exaggerating. I'm being colorful. Maybe it was an hour from the first moment I saw him to the moment I finally get out of here. And let me tell you something. He was close enough at certain points for me to just snap his little neck right there. I even told him, I was like, psst, psst, I could just kill you right now, white man. I could just snap your neck, little deer. I had fun. And I even got him to sniff a pine cone out of my hand. But I wasn't trying to get too close to him because I know they fucking got Lyme disease and shit. Anyway, I had a good time. The worst part of that entire trip was on the day that I finally decided to drive down the mountain and leave. It was Sunday. I wanted a donut for my trip. And this little girl in this donut shop in Ruidoso had all kinds of fucking attitude. I walk in, I was like, good morning. She's like, can I help you? And I was like, yeah, can I get 2 of these donuts? She was like, anything else? And I looked at her like, Jesus, please give me some patience. And then I was like, oh, and 1 of those. And she said, anything else? And I was like, no, that's okay. Oh, and this orange juice. And I went to go grab an orange juice, put it on the thing. She's like, okay, that's going to be 5 something. And she puts her hand out for me to give her the card. But she did it with all this attitude. And I was like, girl, please, I'm not the one. Please do not on this day and here on this day. What the fuck is going on in here on this day? I was battling mentally and internally, just Fonzie, don't burn down this donut shop because you talk to you crazy. You just went on vacation to calm down and disconnect. Don't go to prison. Anyway, I got in and out of there as quick as I could, but that was the worst part of my entire vacation. And that's because I, nearly got Lyme disease from a fucking deer. And that brings me to this week's Fonzie's Wisdom of the Day. To quote one of my favorite movies, you gotta enjoy the little things. And I think that people, when they are resting their body on the weekend from a week of hard work, they don't take the time to mentally rest as well. Because, everyone's on this constant rat wheel of a life. We're all being bombarded by devices and social media and TV and movies and actions and activities and responsibilities and work and school and children and spouses, and you forget to take care of your mental health. You forget to find a second for you to turn everything off and for you to be one with yourself and present and silent. You forget to allow yourself to personally breathe and to take care of your own well-being mentally and emotionally so that you can continue to give everything that you have to other people. And that's why I needed a vacation this past weekend, so that I can continue to be the Fonzie for some of you who, like the sunshine I spread around and sprinkle on everybody. Thank y'all so much for listening to the podcast. I'm so glad that y'all take the time to actually listen to it. I was thinking about that on my drive back home. I was thinking about the episode for this week and how I didn't want to release it, first thing Monday morning. I really wanted to give, myself some time to marinate in the stories of what I wanted to talk about. And I thought that, it's kind of crazy, explaining to my grandma that I do a radio show. Like, her grandson, a radio show, a podcast. That's what a podcast fucking is, basically. Mine, anyway, is a radio show in this format. I don't know. It just sometimes it blows my mind that y'all have decided that I am worth time out of your day to listen to. And I appreciate that. And I want you to know, if you haven't yet, to subscribe to me on whatever device, application, site, host, whatever avenue in which you've decided to, get a hold of this podcast and listen to me. Just subscribe to me on there. I'm also on all of the socials and other things. With that being said, we've officially made it to the end of Ask Fonzie Anything. Thank you so much for sticking with me through this entire episode. If you want to hear more, I have tons of episodes posted already, and I'll post new episodes whenever I want. No, but seriously though, usually Mondays, and when the show starts growing, I'll start releasing episodes twice a week or something. If you like the show, it is available almost everywhere podcasts can be heard, including Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. Make sure you add, like, subscribe, or follow me on my social media profiles. It's at Fonzie Graziano on everything, so you don't have to worry about missing an episode. Make sure and send me DMs to request episode discussion topics. You can write into me if you need advice. I've been told I'm an infinite spring of wisdom. I can definitely give you an outside perspective. I'll tell you what I would do anyway. And who knows, your letter might be the one I answer in the next episode. If you like, you can directly support the podcast. There are links in the bio to my Patreon and Anchor Direct. Or you can just buy one of my books. My first book, Glory, is available in print on Amazon.com and Walmart.com. The ebook is available on Kindle, and there is an audiobook available on Amazon, Audible, and iTunes.com, I think, but don't quote me on that. Also, my second book, Raindrops and Other Lullabies, which was originally due for release earlier this year, but it's been pushed back twice due to the coronavirus. It'll definitely be out before the end of the year, though. If you go to my website, not only can you download and read PDF previews of both books, but you can also listen to a sample of the audiobook of Glory, and if you sign up for the newsletter, you'll get an exclusive updates on what I'm working on, and promo codes, and sales, and discount info. And last but not least, I just want to remind y'all to be a rainbow in somebody's cloud, be kind to yourself and others, unless they talk to you crazy, and wash your fucking hands and wear your goddamn mask. I want to go to the bar. We'll get through this together. Thank you for listening. I think you're pretty cool. I don't care what they say about you. Bye. In next week's episode, I'm sure I'll find something to talk about. Maybe it's time for the psychic episode. Well, what am I doing next week? Yeah, the psychic episode.